Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Vegan Gym Live. And today we have a super special episode because we have a superhero spotlight. I am thrilled to have a truly inspiring guest with us, Allison Will-Crutchfield and her coach, Coach Rory Jupp. Allison is a standout member of the vegan superhero community, and her journey embodies strength, resilience, and the transformative power of plant-based living. And today, I want to have Allison dive into her health and fitness story, share with us the strategies that led her to success, and hear how she continues to push boundaries both physically and mentally. Allison and Rory, welcome to the Vegan Gym Live.
Thanks.
Allison, thank you again for joining. Um, to start, could you share with the community a little bit about yourself, where you were in your health and fitness journey before the Vegan Superhero Academy, and what led you to make this change?
Yeah. My health and fitness goals, I think, before were pretty non-existent. I've been vegan since 2019. I went around this time actually in 2019 because I just felt awful on the standard American diet. But I was definitely more of a junk food vegan. I've spent pretty much my whole life overweight, so I kind of just continued that trend. And I felt a lot better being vegan, but still wasn't really making the best healthiest choices I could have been. And in 2020, I relocated to the East Coast with we're married now, but he was my boyfriend at the time because he got a new job. And the day that I left California, which is where I've lived most of my life, was the day that the country was shut down to the global pandemic. So I was dealing with, making this change across the country, a global pandemic. My grandpa had died a couple years prior, which was very hard on our family. And it was just a new place. And I am a very introverted, quiet person. So it was really hard. And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I, wanted to be a good wife and support my husband. So I went, a girlfriend, I guess, at the time. But I don't know. The months that followed that were really tough and isolating. And I just found myself super miserable. And I basically just passed the time while he was working, putting in these crazy hours, playing video games and feeling sorry for myself. And I knew something needed to change, but I didn't really know what. And we were able to buy a townhouse, which was awesome because I was 23 and he was 22. So we bought a house and, that helped a lot. And I just started slowly trying to bring more movement into my lifestyle. So I started doing yoga and little Apple Fitness things. And eventually I was like, okay, I'm going to try and lose some weight. So I did this calorie deficit, and that was it was unsustainable in the sense that I was only letting myself eat 1,200 calories a day. It was very much and I was working out for 90 to 120 minutes a day. So it was very much an eat less, move more mindset that I found myself in. And I also just didn't really share with anyone. My husband knew because I lived with him, but I didn't tell anyone I was trying to change, my lifestyle in any way. So it was really isolating too, especially when it got hard. And I think after about 6 months, I kind of crashed and burned. And I just remember telling myself, maybe you're not meant to lose more weight. This is just where you're at. Because I lost about 60 or 70 pounds or so in that time. So yeah. And then if we fast forward to 2023, we ended up moving back to California. And, my brother and sister-in-law had a baby, so I got to be an auntie. We bought this amazing 2-story house, and we had like everything we needed to be happy. And I had this feeling, and I was just like, why am I not happy? Like, I have everything I need. And that's kind of when I realized, like, maybe my journey wasn't done yet. And I think the real turning point was on New Year's Eve. My husband and I went out to dinner, and we were just making conversation. And he asked me, like, what's your New Year's resolution? And I made him tell me his first, and then I changed the subject. And like 30 minutes later, he goes, hey, you didn't ever answer my question. And I was like trying to avoid it. But I finally answered him, and I was debating with myself if I wanted to, because I knew it was going to be kind of a deep answer. But I just told him, like, I want to feel at peace with my mind and body for the first time in my life, because even though I have all these amazing things, like, I still just don't feel happy. So in January, I decided to try and do it again, but this time the right way. And I was like, okay, I'll incorporate more protein. I won't, starve myself as much. And that's how I found the vegan gym, through YouTube meal prep videos. And I binge watched like all the content in a week. And I found the nutrition calculator and started chatting. And then 2 weeks later, I was signing up to become a superhero. So, yeah.
Allison, thank you for sharing all that. Do you mind sharing when you were at your heaviest? What was that? And then when that day on New Year's Day, a lot of people struggle to actually even admit to themselves that they're not happy in their body. And so thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. But how would you progress to that point? And when you were defining what that happiness meant, what did that mean to you?
Well, so my heaviest weight, I was about 300 pounds. I was wearing like a size 18 or something. And I'm sorry, can you repeat the last part of the question?
Sure. When you're defining and when you were thinking about and sharing with your husband what it means to be comfortable in your body, to be happy with yourself, I'm assuming initially that was defined in part by achieving a specific weight. But when you were really thinking about making all of these changes, did you have a vision as to what you wanted to be, or where you wanted to, what that point of happiness how you accomplished it?
I just wanted to stop feeling so afraid of everything, I think. I have spent so much of my life being scared of everything, like scared to make a phone call, scared to go in public, and have to interact with people I don't know. Like, just, I wanted to just be okay with being myself and not feel like I had to, be this like person that I thought other people wanted me to be. I just really wanted to be comfortable in my own skin and, be able to like wear, because I love like color and patterns and art and things like that. So, like I have always gravitated towards really like bold, colorful things. And I've always been like not wanting to wear things like that because I'd never wanted to draw attention to myself. When I would sit on the couch, I would put a pillow in my lap to like try and cover my belly. I just like, I wanted to feel okay being myself, and I just want to like exist and not like be concerned with what other people are thinking about me.
Which is huge, because that's not just physical. There's a huge growth mindset piece that you needed to incorporate as part of your journey. So how did you and Rory, I'm assuming there's definitely a physical transformation. So how did you work together to move forward? One, to feed your body so that you can grow stronger. Two, to really think about, how do I get that confidence? Or how do I, when I walk into a room, how am I comfortable and confident and competent? And I have that feeling and I know it's me, and people accept me for who I am, and I accept me for who I am. How did the two of you work on that together?
I mean, I think, I don't know, he's really great with, mindset, and things like that. And he's sent me a lot of like podcasts and, things to ponder, which has been really helpful. But also I think just like, I think for me too, like the transformation was like with some of the more physical things, like going to the gym. Like when I started, I didn't want to go to a gym because I was super nervous of like being in a gym. And we kind of just like, he didn't like make me feel pressured to do that. But I think after like 3 weeks or so, I was like, okay, I want to go to a gym. And I think just like slowly building the confidence in those ways, like, when I went to a gym and I got there and I was like so worried that people were going to like be looking at me, or I was going to feel like I felt out of place or didn't belong. And, it was like, I got there and I was like, oh, no one cares, in a good way. Like no one cares about me in this space. Like everyone that is here to better themselves the same way that I am. And I think that kind of slowly also evolved into like, like me showing up for myself to help me show up in all the other areas too.
What do you think has been your biggest physical transformation? And what do you think has been let me just start there. What has been your biggest physical transformation? And how is the scale the only tool you use to judge that success? Or have there been other milestones or goals that you've set that and achieved or aspire to that reflect how you've grown stronger physically?
I mean, yeah, physically I've lost about 50 pounds since joining, and like 11 inches off my waist. But I like to use the scale as just like another point of data. I don't really think that's the most important factor. It's funny because people keep asking me like, what's your goal weight? And my response is always like, I don't really have one. Like, I think I'll just know when I get there. And a lot of people think that's weird, but I don't really feel like I don't feel like a connection to a certain number. I am happy, to be losing weight just because I feel so much better. Like I feel lighter, I feel happier. It's really fun to be able to carry all the groceries in one go and to just feel strong and capable in that sense. But I don't necessarily like have that connection to the scale the way that I think some other people do. Because for me, it's not about that. For me, I think this whole journey has just been about the mental. Like all the physical changes are just like icing on the cake for me. And the mental growth and change in perspective is really like everything that I really wanted.
And that's a very profound statement. I mean, I love that yes, the scale's there, but your transformation is really, your physical transformation is a byproduct of changing your mindset. Um, how did that? So one of the things that I loved reading about you was doing a Tough Mudder. And having done a Tough Mudder, I know, well, I didn't finish. Having done a Tough Mudder, I know they're tough. But how did you go from not feeling confident walking into a gym to doing a Tough Mudder?
Yeah. Well, Tough Mudder has been in my mind for since 2020. During that time I was talking about when I was on the East Coast and passing time playing games and watching TV, I was also binge watching Survivor. And I remember thinking like, oh, these challenges looks like so much fun. I want to do something like that. And it was like compare like at that point in my life, that kind of like thing for me to think of doing was probably like someone saying, oh, I want to like backpack across Europe, or I want to climb Everest, or like all these you know, really high goals. Like doing a Tough Mudder was like that level for me because it was so unattainable in my head at the time. Like it's not something I ever thought I would be capable of doing. And I would always open the website up and go to the events and look at them and then close the website. And I did that after I joined BSA. And I think like 2 or 3 weeks into my program, I did it. And I was like, no, you're not closing the website. You're signing up for it because you're here to like make these changes and, you know, grow as a person. And I wasn't willing to let myself keep getting in my own way, especially because I knew like I would have help and accountability with this program. So I signed up for it. And yeah, I worked really hard. You know, I've never ran a full mile before in my life. And I did that in like after 3 or 4 weeks of being in this program. And then I ran a 5K, and then I was like, oh, okay, now I can do a half marathon. So I decided I needed to sign up for one of those too. But yeah, it's just, I think like when you prove to yourself you can do something small, like running a mile, it makes you go, what else can I do? Can I do a 5K? Can I do this? You know? So I think for me, it's like these little small wins have helped me realize that I am capable of more, and I'm capable of doing something like a Tough Mudder.
And do you have any future aspirations for, I mean, you've met all these milestones. Where do you go from here?
Well, like I said, I signed up for a half marathon, which is in February. And I also signed up for the next, when I did the Tough Mudder, I just did the 5K, which is, you know, I think it was 13 obstacles and 3-ish miles. And so I signed up for the 15K, which is going to be in the springtime. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe after that I'll get some really crazy ideas to do. I don't know, like a marathon or Infinity or something. I don't know. We'll have to see.
So and Rory, please feel free to jump in. I don't mean to be monopolizing, but Allison, just your mindset change and the fact that I mean, one, kudos to you. I am so proud to see everything you've accomplished. But if you were talking to Allison in 2020, or even 2022, what would you say to her? What would you say to someone who maybe is in the same position you were then about feeling empowered enough? Because your biggest first step was getting to work with Rory. You needed to realize that something needed to change. And you were fortunate enough to work with an amazing coach, but how do you inspire others to make that step now?
Yeah. I don't know. I think just like show up, you know, once you have that thought that you're ready to make the change, just show up. I mean, there's going to be days that you don't want to. And I think sometimes it looks different every day, but just like, I think for me, the biggest thing has just been to show up. You know, like you have to show up for yourself because you are the only person that like knows what you're going through or how you feel about something. I mean, you can tell other people, but like you live with yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else does. So I think just not allowing yourself to, you know, continue the cycle of like excuses or this or that. It's just show up. I mean,
Agreed. And sometimes that's the hardest part, is showing up.
Yeah.
I'd like to add in a quick thought about, I think what keeps a lot of people stuck is fear. And I think that something that Allison's always brought to the table from the start, which I would give as advice to other people, is I think that she was very willing to be open and self-aware about how afraid she was of some certain things. Mm-hmm. And I think that the beauty in that was she had kind of given up and released the control of her mind telling her not to say those things and, you know, not express the difficulty she was facing. And then it really allowed us to have, if you can reach that point, and that point means, I don't know how to do this on my own, you know, it's probably the point you reach when you get past that fear. And I think it really laid a great foundation for us for me to understand where we were, the level of difficulties or mental barriers we would face, and where it could reach. So I just wanted to add that, because I think there's something unique to Allison. She's always said, I'm really scared, but I want to do a Tough Mudder. Okay, we did that. I'm really scared, but now I want to do a half marathon, you know? And it's always been about like, hey, I'm willing to go to that vulnerability place with you and teach you, like, and give you the deepest fears I have, and trust you that you'll take that step. I think that's something that anyone in any area of life can improve on if they can reach that point.
Allison, Rory, thank you, because fear, 100% agree. Fear of failure is huge. And I know we've talked about this on some of our team calls, fear of failure, but then also this fear of not being perfect. If I don't do it right, am I going to do it at all? Has your perspective on fear of failure and your need to, and please don't let me put words in your mouth, but many of us feel like I have to do it right. I have to be perfect. You almost have to let both go at the same time. Otherwise, you won't take that step forward and try things that you don't know how to do. But if you don't push yourself out of your comfort zone, you'll never be able to do it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, the fear of failure is huge. You know, when I kind of first joined, I saw this quote that has stuck with me, and it just is really short and simple, and it just says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And anytime I kind of find myself in that place of being afraid, I try to remind myself of that quote, because, you know, like, there's that other quote that's like, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And I think the fear of failure is huge. And like you said, fear of not being perfect, because I 100%, like I try to be a perfectionist. But I also think fear of success is another big one, especially for me, because if you're successful at something that you have been telling yourself your whole life you can't do, then you have to face that. You have to like face all these years of, you know, the way that you like talk to yourself, or the things that I don't know. I think it's honestly just fear of everything, like failure, perfection, success. It's in everything. But yeah, I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
No, they're all intertwined. But it's interesting you bring up the fear of success because some people don't think about that. The unintended consequences of actually achieving your goals.
Mhm.
How have you navigated, whether it's questioning yourself about, why didn't I do this sooner? Or are there obstacles that you've encountered because as you've changed, maybe people haven't changed around you, or um, there's a lot in your environment that has to change as you change. So, how is that fear of success? How have you overcome that fear of success, or how have you acknowledged that it's okay and continue to move forward?
I definitely don't think I've overcome it. I think that's something I'm still working on, even outside of like the health and fitness component, or aspect. Like I have always wanted to, do more art in my life. And I have a desk job right now, and everyone's always telling me, like, why don't you do art? Why don't you do this? And I have like found myself saying yes to opportunities that do scare me. But like I got to like paint a mural for a coffee shop this past weekend, and that's something I totally would have just like not done before because I was afraid of doing it and either messing up or doing it and like being good at it. And then I don't know. It's all the I'm still working on that side, but I am, I feel like I'm definitely better than who I was when I started, and that's what's important.
You're seeing the other side of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to continue to grow. So, that's the wonderful thing too. This this is really a journey. And I feel like you're continuing to push yourself out of your comfort zone, uh, which is hard. None of us like to be uncomfortable, but I agree with your quote. Uh, the if you're always in your comfort zone, you're never going to see what you can do. And more importantly, there could be some little girl who's seeing you painting the mural, and maybe you'll provide her with inspiration to do something that maybe she didn't think she could do, or he didn't think he could do. So I always like that. And one of the reasons I think these spotlights are so important is if you can inspire one person, then that's so valuable and so important.
Yeah. I mean, I was like very nervous and skeptical because I am, I'm a very quiet person. So when you asked me to, I was like, oh, 30 minutes of having to listen to my own voice talk. But I'm happy I got to do it. And yeah, that's kind of what Rory and you have told me since I agreed to do it. It was just like, oh, but think about if you inspire at least one person. So yeah.
And Allison, thank you. I know this pushed you out of your comfort zone too. And I hope 30 minutes has gone by quickly. But before we wrap up today, if there was one thing you wanted to share with anyone who's listening or watching, and wherever they are on their journey, physical or mental, what would it be? If just one parting message or one lesson that you would like to leave the community with?
Maybe just that you're stronger than you think you are. And you probably don't give yourself enough credit for that, but mentally and physically, I think we are all so much stronger than we realize. I know I definitely have proved that to myself, and I hope to continue to keep proving it. But yeah, I think we all have so much more in us than we realize.
Yeah. An incredible message. And maybe one other thing, because I think sometimes we're also afraid to reach out for help, in that we ask, asking for help is a sign of vulnerability, but sometimes having that person who's going to hold your hand and help you achieve something that maybe you couldn't do alone, that's hugely valuable. So there shouldn't be any fear or shame in asking for help either.
Yeah. And I think, being vulnerable is not weakness.
Yeah.
I think being, like emotional and sensitive, it's not weakness. Like, it's okay to have, I'm a very sensitive person and emotional person. I feel things really deeply, and I've always thought that was a bad thing. But I'm learning that it's not. It's okay to be someone that feels things on a deeper level, because it just means that you care.
Exactly. And you're going to continue to be a deeply caring person, and you're going to continue to push yourself and inspire other people. And I really want to thank you for joining me today and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I can't wait to see how you do in your half marathon, in your Tough Mudder, and all the other things that you aspire to do, whether it's physically, in your career, in your personal life. Uh, you're an amazing woman, Allison. And I hope you acknowledge that, and that your confidence in yourself is growing as you grow as a person.
I'm definitely getting there. Thank you.
It's a journey, and we're all on it together. So I also want to thank all of you for joining us today, and I hope you have heard some of the beautiful things that Allison has shared about how asking for help, not being afraid, about choosing your hard, about some of the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And if you can, and that there is no such thing as perfection. All of those are key tips. And I think it's what really has allowed Allison to make so much progress in her own journey. And I know that those same tips will be helpful to you on your journey. So please cheer Allison on as she continues to show us what it means to be a vegan superhero. And Allison, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in today.